Hello, everyone. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. Uh, my name is Jenna Annett. I work with the Community Energy Association as a Built Environment Initiatives Coordinator. And this is our second webinar in the series, Improve Your Home Energy Efficiency, the Retrofit Journey. So tonight we're speaking to air sealing and what strategies you can take in your own home. You'll notice we are recording this session. It will be posted on our website and shared with all webinar registrants along with the presentation slides. So just move forward there, please, Sunshine. Wonderful, thank you. So I typically call in from what is now known as Nelson, but for thousands of years has been the traditional territories of the Snakes Nation, Silks Nation, and Ktunaxa Nation, and is home to the Métis and many diverse Indigenous people. Tonight I'm calling in from the traditional territories of the Secwepemc in what is now known as Kamloops. We're trying as an organization to center Indigenous stories and voices, and we came across a very cool story that we'd like to share here today. So we'll just click on the slide there, Sunshine, to bring up the text. Perfect. All right. So highlighting some of the work that the Penticton Indian Band, one of the 7 communities of the Okanagan Nation, has been doing. They've been showcasing incredible leadership in the high performance building space. So an example of this is the construction of the new Little Paws Child Care Center. It's an 8,600 square foot child care building with a very insulated building envelope, triple glazed windows, and high efficiency heating system to provide comfortable interior conditions all season long. So with these features and the addition of solar panels, the building would be energy self-sufficient and provide a safe and healthy space for generations to come. So more about this project and other really incredible initiatives that they're taking in the building industry, you can visit pib.ca. Perfect, thank you. All right, so who are we? The Community Energy Association, or CEA. We are a registered charity and nonprofit committed to accelerating bold action by local government and Indigenous communities related to climate and energy. We have an unwavering commitment to our clients to provide services and support on the journey from awareness to plans and through to implementation. We have over 50 staff located across 28 communities throughout 5 provinces and territories. And we bring our collective expertise, experiences, commitment to truth and reconciliation, and passion to reduce local greenhouse gas emissions while maximizing co-benefits so that communities are healthy and resilient. So what does that have to do with high performance building? Well, emissions from homes and commercial buildings were 12% of BC's total emissions in 2021. So for us, building better is climate change. And it allows us to target a high emission sector while promoting healthy and more affordable, more comfortable homes in our communities. And just forward this slide there, please. So we are involved in a variety of projects related to home energy retrofits and high performance building. The Kootenay Clean Energy Transition, or KCET, is a project that was developed to address shifts happening in the energy efficiency, renewable energy, and home comfort space. So through KCET, we want to help Kootenay and boundary communities and other communities across BC prepare for a more energy efficient and healthy future through training and capacity building sessions for building professionals and community workshops that focus on high performance building like this one. So thanks to the generous contributions of the organizations listed at the bottom of this slide, we're able to provide these workshops for free in partnership with building science experts. For a full list of upcoming events, including the remaining webinars in this series, you can visit our website at communityenergy.ca/news-events. Perfect. And then today's webinar is also brought to us on behalf of the Retrofit Assist program. So Retrofit Assist is a concierge style program supporting homeowners wanting to undergo home energy retrofits and contractors on the ground doing the work. It's currently running in Roslyn, Whistler, and Squamish, with additional BC communities being launched soon. I'll just move forward a slide there just so that you can get an idea of the types of support. Sorry, I know that slide is a little small there, but we do essentially support homeowners through their entire retrofit journey, from understanding their energy usage, prioritizing their upgrades, getting the work done, and accessing available rebates and financing. So for full details, you can visit that website at retrofitassist.ca. All right, so that is enough from me. Today's session will be presented, well, almost. Today's session will be presented in two parts. So the first will be presented by James Bourget with RDH Building Science, and it will focus on air sealing techniques and considerations for your home. And then the Youth Climate Corps will follow to speak on their experience and learnings through some air sealing they underwent in Squamish. If you have any questions as we go through, feel free to raise your hand and I'll call on you. You're also welcome put your questions in the chat and we'll save them for kind of a question and answer period. At the end of the session, we will be requesting you folks on the call just to complete a quick feedback poll where you'll have an opportunity to highlight additional topics you'd like us to explore in subsequent sessions. All right, so it's my pleasure to introduce James Bourget with RDH Building Science. James brings over 40 years of extensive construction experience and expertise, and we're really lucky to have him here with us on the call today to share his knowledge and wisdom. So over to you, James.
Thank you, Jenna. I appreciate that. I'm at the north end of Cooney Lake. This is the traditional territories of the Kootenai peoples. I appreciate and recognize that. I trust everybody can see my screen. It's fantastic.
We can, yep.
Okay.
Yeah, you're good.
DIY air sealing, best bang for your buck. I'm just going to go through air sealing. I got some mock-ups behind me, some materials, a bunch of different things I can talk about, demonstrate, whatever that might be. I'm going to go through the slides fairly quickly because please recognize that a lot of this is really quite simple common sense and it's stuff you can actually do yourself. But I'm going to do a little air leakage demonstration. Here's a little mini house mock-up. I have an updated version there behind me. I'll show you anyway. But it just has traditional pipe penetration. You got that pipe under the sink you might see. Light switches, floor register from a crawl space. It's not airtight. Maybe leakage at the base of the wall. I'll talk about that a little bit more in depth. But a lot of times traditionally, on some of the older homes for sure, that the air barrier would be the polyethylene behind the gypsum. It's only recently that we're working on exterior air barrier approaches. So we put a little vacuum, put a little pressure, and put a little smoke on the back side of an electrical. And yeah, it leaks pretty good. And I'll show you some simple tools you can use to check that out yourself. There's the pipe penetration under the sink or mechanical room, whatever that might be. It's pretty typical of what goes on. The air barrier will be the poly, and if you ever had a chance, you'll notice that it's just sort of cut out around these penetrations and not really well detailed. That's going to be air leakage. So what is weatherization? Well, let's identify the location of heat loss and building closure, air leakage, okay, missing insulation, and performing the air sealing work, maybe adding some insulation. That could be a good idea. Let's try to improve comfort, thermal efficiency improvements, durability, all that comes together. Here's just a basic shot of a home. You can see that's the perimeter you can deal with. Okay, your attics, exterior wall penetrations are quite important. Attics are also very important and traditionally quite leaky. Below grade, believe it or not, is also quite leaky and things you can do. And you know, do you have a crawl space? Is it vented? Is it conditioned? What can you do? So right here, there's many tools you can use to do that. And things like a smoke pencil. We got that on Amazon. That was pretty simple. Giant feather, got that from the Michaels, the hobby store. You hold that over in front on a windy day in front of your light fixtures, and I'll demonstrate that. Other ways, infrared. So if you have an infrared camera, that's easy to get to. But you can start to see what's going on. If you get more involved, get an energy buyer to do a blower door test, and you can do pressurization and depressurization. The infrared's quite good for that because this is what a whole blower door thing is. And no, a homeowner won't own one of these things, but might be proactive to get a test done and try to identify what is the major leakage spots if you want to go that level. But a lot of it you can do yourself. So you need to pressurize and depressurize if you're going to do smoke. That way you can tell it's not a thermal discontinuity, it's actually air exchanging. Many of these old houses, 10 air changes, not uncommon. You can get them down quite significantly just by doing a few of the little things that I'm going to show you. But why air sealing first? You know, you got three metrics to deal with. You get air tightness, thermal, and mechanical. and it's kind of in that order. This is a house as a cheese grater because that's what that is. When you have that kind of air leakage, your house is a cheese grater. And so you can get programs that says, give me a house as cheese grater. So that's what I did. So I have a cheese grater house, and then want to put a heat pump on that. That seems to be the thing to do. I don't know if it's the right thing to do. I don't think so. Not at this stage. But you find out that I got all this air leakage. What am I going to do with my heat pump? I'll make it bigger. No problem. Well, maybe a problem. Well, what happens if I take away the air leakage? And I look at this, and if the ideal world, you address the fenestration, put a sweater on, a little thermal, and all of a sudden, I got a heat pump that I can actually size. I could actually fine tune it to have a highly efficient mechanical system if I go air tightness and thermal. And today we're going to talk a lot about air tightness with a bit of thermal. Air sealing, top to bottom, okay? Here's just a few examples. The doors, the windows, the pipes. There's that pipe under the sink I was talking about on the left side there. And the attics, pipes here, your plates, partition walls, chimneys. These are all things that, I don't know, we don't go up in the roof in the attic very often, but you might want to if you want to get things airtight. Same thing with below grade. You think it's below grade, it doesn't have air leakage. It certainly does, okay? But if you're going to get into doing all this do-it-yourself work, you really have to be cognizant of, oh, I don't know, electrical shock. How old's the wiring? Is it knob and tube? I mean, what kind of wiring? How old is this home? Are there exposed areas that you need to deal with? Working on ladders and stuff, don't fall down. I've done that a few times in my life, and I can say that. Fall hazard, asbestos and lead is very, very real because, you know, you can live in your gypsum, around your windows, if that's your finish return, in your attic, your insulation. It can be in a lot of different places, as well as the lead, especially on an older home. So you need to be aware of that. Also, things like, you know, mold in the attic and stuff like that. Combustion spillage, I'll get into that a little bit more, but as you make your home more airtight, you might have to look at combustion makeup air, because right now it probably uses your leaky building for that. Here's an example. So you have an old natural draft furnace, and air leakage provides combustion air makeup. But if you get air sealing, all of a sudden you get a backdrafting in, you should put combustion air gas back into the home. You don't want to be doing that. So avoid combustion spillage in extremely airtight homes, okay? You might look at different ways of doing this: dedicated combustion air, direct venting, electric heat. I'll put a little website up there. If you get a chance, go to this website and it'll explain what exactly this means, okay? And what are the hazards and concerns about that. You might want to check that out, okay? It's quite informative. I'm not going to waste my time going into it. Just put that up there. It gives you something that you can work with. Again, house as a system, HAS as a system, okay? HAAS. So looking at the various things: condensation, backdrafting, passive venting, mechanical venting, all the things all work together. So you got heating and cooling, enclosure and ventilation working together, okay? That's what we need to establish here. Well, we're going to work on the enclosure first. So how do you prioritize? Well, I don't know. You got 1, 2, 3, you got various things you can do. Well, you can go around and do your own little testing. If you had a little smoke pencil, if you had a feather that I'm going to show, and you can start to determine where you have it. You can look at your doors and windows. Is it drafty? Where's the draft? And start to address these things. But just know that there's a lot of receptacles. The air barrier is typically not continuous there. And you can think, how many receptacles do I have in the exterior wall of my home? Oh, my goodness, lots. Okay. What about my crawl space? Is it vented? Is it vented? Am I getting leakage up through from the crawl space? Perhaps. So, tools and materials. It's just the basic materials. You might use a little spray foam. I'm not a big proponent of spray foam on new builds. It's not designed around that. However, it can be a convenient way to improve air tightness. Various air sealing tapes and sealants. It's all pretty basic stuff. It's just a matter of going around, picking up a good product, okay? Various types that you need. That's okay. What about spray foam? Well, it can seal pretty tight. Now, I'll show that later on in the video. Okay, it might be a nice solution for what you need to do as air tightness improvements. This is a do-it-yourself air sealing webinar. But if you get into the actual retrofit program and you start to look at fenestration and looking at insulation on the outside and changing the cladding, you're going to move the air barrier to the outside, okay? So this is a measure to buy you comfort as a starting program. The fire putty and duct seal are quite wonderful products, and you can use them extensively, and I'm going to show you. Very effective. Beware of the magical products, okay? If it says it does everything on the product label, it's probably snake oil. You want to look better at, construction type grade products or better proven products. Insulation, various types you're going to deal with. Down the bottom, the pink, that's a baffle. Sometimes if you're going to put more insulation in your attic, you got to put baffles in so you can keep the venting going, okay? Don't know what condition you have right now. Maybe you have none. I know the first house I bought it anyway because, well, price was right. But there was no insulation yet. It was just like a little dust of insulation left in there. And but boy, was the framing in good shape. But my energy bill was not pretty. Here's an example. So you start to look at this here and say, windows and doors. They're notorious. Even my own house is that way. I just changed weather stripping on my door, trying to make sure I get the best seal, putting on door sweep, etc. Your windows, sometimes they're challenging. Do you feel a draft? It does, like the picture on the bottom left here. You can see sometimes you got this not so nice finish along here. You can seal that and get the air tightness up against the drywall. It's about the best you can do without cutting things open. That's kind of what we're doing here. You can do much better if you cut it open, but is there asbestos in the drywall mud? Don't know. So these are things to consider. This is about making it better. How about the attic? We're going to look at a few things like that, but this is the red herring. The air barrier is that poly sheet that runs on the ceiling of your home. Everywhere else they call it the vapor barrier, but technically it's the air barrier in older homes because it was always poly by default. Okay. And so there's so many penetrations through that poly. What are you changing from room to room to room? They put the plastic flap in there and totally join it together. If you ever seen actual construction sites, they don't have any much care or attention is paid to that. So you get leakage at partition walls often. Attic hatches, notorious, okay? The corners of them are massive air leakage points. They're usually, even in my own house, just a piece of plywood. Okay, well, that's not really going to cut it, okay? You want to get some insulation on that hatch and the gasket, and then perhaps even look at, and I've done this myself, is I bought some latches, I trimmed it out, and I compression sealed it. All right. This is all do-it-yourself stuff that you can do on the weekend. If you add insulation, put an insulation guard so extend it up on the inboard side. But there are common deficiencies. You can see the air leakage and water staining and condensation staining on the corner, but the massive air leakage. That's a traditional attic hatch right there. So pot lights. One thing about pot lights, if you're going to do something yourself, we recognize that the pot lights may or may not be IC rated, okay? IC stands for insulation contact. So if you're going to add insulation and you have pot lights, you may need to put a box or something over that. I'm going to show you a box of stuff as I move to the other cameras that I have. But here's an example, okay? So now you have to box out, and you can build a foam box around that, but you can't have insulation in contact. Even fiberglass, the binders within that, if it's hot, can burn, okay? So yeah, the fiberglass is pretty good, but it's what they make it with is not, okay? If you have a hot ductwork, okay? Commonly, you can basically horse collar piece of sheet metal, so you cut a half circle out of one half and a half circle of the other, put it together around that pipe, and then seal it with fire caulking. And then that's there is a sheet metal guard, okay, that you can put around so when the insulation comes, it's not in contact with your hot pipe. That's all that is, just an insulation guard. Many ways to do that, okay? You could take mineral wool in a square box. That's a non-combustible, made out of stone, basalt rock. Make a square box around it. This is a nice round, fancy sheet metal. Okay, that might be too much. Well, how about I just make a square box of mineral wool? That not a problem whatsoever. Simple. Chimneys are just notorious. They come up through and there's no care whatsoever to the air tightness at that point. But the same token, the red is the fire caulking. Here's the sheet metal tying in, okay, because it's a hot element. Insulation guard, either gypsum, okay, or mineral wool on the bottom, and then top up your insulation. You can do all that. Common deficiencies, chimneys and ductwork, okay? Just be careful of insulation contact with your ductwork. Here you can see an insulation guard around the pipe, and you can see the chimney, it's just wide open gaps everywhere. This is something too, the unsealed, that relates to moisture within your attic space. But if you're in there, it's not just the penetration through the polyethylene ceiling. You want to look to make sure that it's not disconnected or discharging moist air within that attic space. That can lead to other issues. Okay. Lots of unfinished work up there. You know, the funny thing is, it's not fun. Not really. I do it. I've done it, and I teach it, and I go up in the attics all the time. And sometimes you just have to put on the suit, put on the attitude, and take your time. If it's a do-it-yourself and you're budget conscious, you don't have to worry, because the skills required to do this are not much. Quite easy to do. You can use a bit of spray foam. I use putty. I'll show you. This is attic air sealing perimeters, plates, and penetrations. Okay. You can seal all of your penetrations. You know where the poly meets the top plate of the wall, which is right over here. Okay. You can seal that because you get air leakage from that, because it leaks in the wall and just comes straight on up. Okay. And so then you come around each of your cords and seal that, and you go around the outside of the cord. You know, if you take your time, move the insulation out of the way, and you seal all the bottom cords and the perimeters in that attic, as well as the penetrations, you can experience significant improvement in air tightness. And it's not a bad way to go, but you might not want to do that. So you can look at other ways to get that done. Okay. There's things called flash and fill that you can do, which is spray foam on the bottom and then top it up. But that's not really a do-it-yourself thing. This is a do-it-yourself thing, which I've done it myself, so I can say that. That's fine. If you top it up, though, make sure that you have the baffles that allow for the venting in conjunction with the size of your attic space, and then stops here so that it doesn't fall out into your soffit. Here's what happens if you have unsealed ducts and stuff within that attic space. It's not really air sealing your home, but if you're going up in the attic to do that, check for this, okay? So all this mold and fungal growth, and now you got to deal with that. That's not the most healthy environment to be going into. I had this on my second house, where I had all this mold up there. I addressed all of this, and then I actually had it ice blasted. And what that means is I brought somebody in to use dry ice, blast all that off, because the dry ice would just disappear. And so there was no mess, but I had it removed. Okay, my screen went blank, but you're still there, Jenna. I see up in the corner, so that's good. Okay, I saw something went funny there. So crawl space, here's a vented crawl space. You can see the vent right here, but your rim joists, they're going to be notorious, okay? And leading up to the floor space. So you can do insulation improvements like this, which will now give you that thermal comfort and air tightness. You think, where's the air barrier on the floor? It's the plywood sheathing, okay? You can't blow through plywood. It's tongue and groove. It's really quite good. Seal the perimeters, and you can make some good headway. Here's some examples. Crawl space ceiling insulation. The pipes are wrapped properly when needed. Okay, rim joist insulating the ceiling. You keep the ventilation, and you got floor insulation. I just finished this here floor insulation on my own home, because it was well, it was all falling out and all the rest. So I've got it all hung up properly. So it's all doable. Just did it on a weekend and got it done. Put on the tunes. Good examples of crawl space insulation. You can see it's all neat and tidy, tucked up and nicely, held in with screen. Okay, if necessary. I used strips of wire. It's all good. Here's chicken wire holding it up in there. But I know from my own home, if you're going to do that, it's going to fall. It's something to do with gravity, I think. So crawl space conversion, maybe you don't want it. Plug the vent, you can insulate the walls and becomes a new interior space. And you need to provide venting to that space. It's now a new interior space, but it's nice dry space, storage, new inside space. You need to deal with the floor, okay, for damp. So putting poly down, you can also put insulation and plywood. I've done that and made a brand new walking surface because sometimes a mud slab's not so pretty down in the crawl space. But here's the deal. I got a thick cathedral ceiling and well, what am I going to do with that? Well, you think about this, the most airtight element that you're going to have here that you can use will be your drywall. So you could seal your penetrations to your drywall. Can work quite good. Your beams penetrating through the walls, partition walls, and the rest. Doors, lights, showed you that in the video, under the sink, windows. All these things can be sealed. And I got some behind me that we're going to show you, okay? So here's an air leakage retest. All right, so you can see here, here's that pot. So for fun,
We can't hear you, James, when the video is playing for some reason. I'm not sure if it's the video or if you might cut out.
I think maybe it's the video playing. Okay. Can you hear me now better?
Yeah, we can.
Okay,
Yeah.
it was the video then. Okay, that's good to know. Okay. And so you get a lad fixture here, right here. There's some putty to fill the hole. So you think about how do you do that? I'm going to show you right here on the table behind me. You can see right over my shoulder, there's a couple light fixtures, and I also have it in the mock-up unit that's here. And so that's puttied, suitable for electrical penetrations, and I'll show you what that is. This one here is shown in the picture with a duck putty. I myself use an intermittent putty, which is made for use in and around electrical boxes, okay? But it's just showing the concept that you can putty. It's just pliable, stays pliable, done. All your access is there. You can do your work. And register. What can you do with that coming out of the crawl space? We usually got that metal fitting that's in the plywood and they put a grill on it. So you can tape around that. And I'll show you that here also. All pretty quite simple. There's a box on top of the electrical on the ceiling. Okay, same idea. You can take styrofoam, tape it with air sealing tape. You can buy this tape. One I like is the Seagull Wiglove. I made a box here behind on my shoulder. You can see that I'll show you again. It just takes a few minutes. It's really not that difficult. It doesn't have to be that pretty either. It just needs to be airtight. Nobody's gonna see it in the attic, right? So same idea. You pressurize it. You put the air seal box on it. There's no leakage whatsoever. And you're up in the attic doing that work. So there's a best practice guide for air sealing and insulation retrofits, okay, BC Housing. Have a look at that. You can download that. It gets into a lot of different options and perhaps gives you some things to think about. What can I do around my home? I know it's really not that difficult. I think everybody has a pretty good sense of where it might be leaking, okay, from air leakage. And I'll show you on the little unit that I have beside me some of the areas that are notorious and why air leakage can occur. So if there's any questions right now, I'm happy to talk about the slides.
Yeah, we did have a couple questions to come through. I know you're going to move on to some demonstrations. John asked, if I'm buying a new house, should I expect the ceiling is done already? Especially do windows and doors come with inherent ceiling installed?
Sorry, I missed the question. You buy a new house and all the ceiling's done.
That's his question.
All right, so if you buy a new house, it should have an air leakage rate as part of that purchase if you just bought a new house. So you might not need to do anything if you have good air tightness on your home. Do you have good air tightness on your home?
I'm not sure. The question is, I guess, if he's buying a new house, should he expect to have to do these
I know. If you're
upgrades?
buying a new house with the energy step code right now, it would be step 3 is a minimum, 2.5 air changes. in my opinion, that's not good enough. It should be less than 1. Um, but if you're buying a step 4, step 5 house, that's step 5 is that 1 air change. Okay. There should have been a blower door test in most municipalities at this point. So you should know what your air leakage rate is. Okay. You ask the builder, how airtight is it? Ask that question. You have that right. This is your big purchase. I know I'm going to ask every question I can think of if I'm going to purchase. Okay. And if you find that you bought perhaps a step 3 home, yeah, there might be some things that you might want to improve on. And a lot of it, and I think the biggest thing that I ever hear from people is comfort. Comfort is what the bottom line is. I know it's money and cost and process and all this stuff, but at the end of the day, if it's not comfortable, it doesn't matter anymore. So if you buy a new home and you don't know what the air leakage rate is, you can very inexpensively. I don't know if there are rebates to get them tested, Jenny. Is there any rebates to get a blower door done?
Not right now.
Okay, so you can get a blower door done. It's not expensive, okay, but you can have your house tested. Maybe have that done by the builder before you buy it, because it's not hard. It just takes a very short time. There's no damage to anything, and you can get some information to work from. And I think that would be something I'd want. I'd want to know before I gave that kind of investment, what's the air leakage rate? Because remember this, okay, this is really, really important. If you're going to buy a new home, in 6 years from now, everybody's going to be a step 5 net zero type home. So if your home isn't at that level, you're going to be behind the 8 ball in 6 years, and you'll have to upgrade to be competitive and maintain saleability in the future. And so I'd want to know what it is now before I bought.
Great. And just a note from our good old friend James Higgins, if the house is older than 5 years, the air tightness still might have some room for improvement.
Yeah. What do you say to buying a new house? Oh, I see. New is just new for him, not a new house. Yeah, I misunderstood the new part. That's fine.
New may be relative, but yeah, but brand new versus within 5 years. So
Yeah. Okay.
great.
I hope that helps him.
I think so.
Yeah.
And then, sorry, I've just lost my place in this chat. Lori asks, she says, I'm in an older modular home, 1993. To seal the molding, I have to take it all off, seal it, replace it, and repaint. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'm going to show that here, but you're molding on where? The base of wall, the window, the doors. Which molding are we talking about? All.
The baseboard molding.
Yeah, and so yeah, that's a notorious, and I got an example here, but yeah, air leakage under the floor plates of your wall is quite notorious. Okay, and that can something that you could look at, but you might also want to just find out, is it leaking there a lot? Okay, and I'll show you. You know, you could use a simple thing. If you bought a smoke pencil that's not expensive off Amazon, or you can do just a basic feather on a windy day. Pop one baseboard off that you're suspect, just hold a really fine feather there. Are you seeing it flutter? Well, that's actually a lot of air leakage. If it does that, then it might be worthwhile. But that's one step. That's one process you can do is seal the baseboards. Seal the light fixtures. Light fixtures are you have to imagine that the air barrier, the polyethylene around them is never well done. Okay. Even if you get a home with some poly pans, they stab it with a knife and stick the wire through anyway. Put some pookie and then that's seal it, and then the insulator comes and mucks it all up anyway. So it can be an issue. And part of this leads to down the line for moving the air barrier to the outside, but that's a different discussion. Anybody else?
Could you just take a few minutes just to explain again kind of how the blower door air test is tested, how it is implemented, and what ACH is measuring?
Yeah, and so it's measuring an air changes per hour at 50 pascals pressure differential. So you tap in the volume of the house, you get your 50 pascals of pressure differential and then your flow rate. And then you're able to calculate how much uncontrolled air leakage happens every hour through your building enclosure. Okay, so that fan that you saw, the red door, it's called a red door test. And so that happens. But what's really quite amazing that, and I find interesting as heck is it's a volume-based metric on a home. So if I go inside the home, if I have a 2-story home with 2,000 square feet on each floor, and 8-foot ceilings, I got 32,000 cubic feet of volume, just being rough for math purposes here. And I have an air changes of 2. That's 64,000 cubic feet of air changed every hour from uncontrolled leakage through my enclosure at 50 pascals. I don't find that very, very exciting, because if I put 64,000 cubes in a parking lot, you'd think it was a big mountain. It's a lot of air leakage that you paid for. And that's where the energy efficiency, air tightness is a tremendous, what's this called? Oh yeah, bang for your buck. Okay. So getting air tightness is really, really important.
Great, thank you. Any other questions for James before we move on to the demonstrations? All right, I'm not seeing anything, but go ahead and pop your questions in the chat if something comes to mind.
I got a few things to do. I'll stop share. There might be a few more questions, but I talked about lights, and there was a question about baseboards and all this other kind of stuff. I'm going to talk about and demonstrate that now to the best as I can. Even have a feather. I'll see if I can demonstrate that for fun. I'm going to stop share and move to cameras. Here's the unit. This is the unit that was in the videos and that. It's now been completed. I got baseboard trims and flooring and register and stuff, so I can talk about it with you in greater depth. So what I'm going to do, just for fun, I'm just going to zoom in a bit here. You'll see me zoomed, okay?
Yep, we can see you.
Okay, that's great. And so here I have my trusty feather, and I can pull this by. If you watch that feather, it's dancing around that pipe. It's simple to do. It didn't cost me anything. I went to Michael's. Well, they charge a lot for a feather, actually, but it wasn't bad. I could do the same thing up on here, and you can see the fluttering take place at the light fixture. Same thing here. Well, I'm just demonstrating this. This is a natural wall assembly, and I have a small fan in the background simulating just a slightly windy day. And all of these things can flutter, even on the heat register. We can
Oh,
start
that's a little lower than the camera there, James.
Okay, Jack, for you.
Perfect.
Start to see it flooding around the edges because it's sheet metal box. It's not sealed to the lip. On the video, I'm just gonna take this here and move it over to where I can view it too. Okay, so this is the unit up on top. There's a ceiling. Okay, and I have a light fixture. With insulation, and we're going to look at all of these things here. But first, let's have a look at the baseboard at the bottom. Okay. There was a question about that, so I'm going to do that. Typically, if you pop the baseboard and you look at the flooring, you'll see a gap. The flooring is going to be right tight, and the drywall is always a little bit up from the floor. Okay. But what has to happen? Imagine if you had air that could come under that plate, a wall plate that runs along here, along the bottom. If you don't see the polyethylene behind here coming down and sealed to the floor, you have nothing stopping air leakage from under the place. So in the mobile home or the manufactured home question, have a look what you have. See if there is indeed air leakage potential there, to see if it's worthwhile to do that work. We looked at electrical plugins, for example, just like this one here. And so what was meant by getting this airtight? Take this off. But inside, I have installed an inch-emissive putty in all the penetrations. You can see that there's holes in the box. I did this by, it's in the wall, I turn off the breaker, I take off the receptacle part and expose this here. Then I take the putty and I just fill out all the holes I can see. This will become very, very airtight like the video showed. If you have a sealing box, depending on what type of shape it is, it doesn't matter. You can install the putty. And you wonder what's the deal with this here putty? Well, it's quite easy to work with, and I'm going to put some seals on up top, okay, around some wires and an electrical box, okay? But here's the pipe, and I show you the sealants, and I'm just going to grab my sealant. I did this for fun. I didn't want to do this onto the mock-up because we'll just have to clean it all off after. You get the idea that this comes foam with a straw. You can simply go and seal all the way around. It's not a pipe that's visible. It doesn't have to be pretty. And first couple you do, you probably won't be that good at it. And you're going to have this big ball of foam everywhere. That's okay. We're just trying to make it airtight. The foam's quite interesting when it dries. Okay. This, what I used in the electrical boxes. And if you were to read that, it says, I'll read it for you. Is a moldable fire-rated intermittent putty pad installed in and around electrical boxes to maintain any kind of hourly fire ratings in wall assemblies, also prevent the passage of smoke and gases. So it makes a tremendously good air seal. The interesting part about the putty is I've had this package, as you can see, for a long time, doing lots of different venues. But even today, it's pliable, just like taffy. You take this taffy and you roll it up, and I make worms out of it, or I make a ball out of it, and I can fill whatever I like. I can go around the wire, which I'm going to show you up top. I'll wrap it around the wire and seal all kinds of things with it. It's quite a wonderful product. You know, and the best part is I bought this here pack a while back, I think a year ago or something. But this was a whopping $8, okay? All right, so I can get all this bang for my buck with very little buck. Okay, so do I have any questions at this point? So I'm going to open up the register and I'll just tilt the camera back down. Everybody can have a little closer look at that. All right, and so there's a sheet metal box that's put in this opening, but all along the edge of that box, it's not sealed. You can take an air sealing tape, just like this. This is the Seagull Wig Glove. There are many types like this, and it's readily available in many, many places. Okay? And you can take this, and you can seal the box. Once you have it sealed, you just come up onto your flooring with the register back, but you will no longer have uncontrolled air leakage from the space below, be it a crawl space or whatever. Okay, so there's no air leakage from the bottom. It's been sealed, but it's the floor is part of your air barrier. This is penetrating it. It needs to get sealed. This takes you through the inside here. We're going to look at this upper light now, right up top here. I have an upper light right here. I'm going to switch to another camera view, and we're going to look down on this, and I'm going to go up and address the top side. Any questions on what we saw here? It's not difficult, right?
I haven't seen any come through. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
You take this first you take the turn breaker off, okay? Then you pull it out, you disconnect it, and in the back side here, you're going to see you have holes in the box. You take your putty, and you put it in the holes, in that hole. You just pack all the holes with putty, put this back in and put the cover back on. one of the things you can do for one of these, when I tap the holes, and I put the cover back on, I want to get this tight to the drywall, so I'm going to take here, gasket, sticky on one side. I'm going to put this on. And I can be airtight to my drywall. Tight to the box, my gasket is tight to my drywall, and my fitting is back on. I put the screws in. Okay, this is the do-it-yourself. Same thing you can do for all your receptacles. Just get the appropriate gasket, do the putty. Okay, if you wanted to not have a gasket, you could seal between. If this was gypsum and a box, you can see this box. There's a little bit of gap here between the gypsums, so that's not uncommon, okay? But you can't seal that so well because the gypsum is all chalky. Okay, so you can't put seal there, but you can make a gypsum not chalky. One thing you can do, you can take a white glue, well bond or all-purpose white glue, mix it 5 parts to 1 part, 5 parts water, 1 part glue, and brush it on the edge of that gypsum. Use a small paintbrush, or just start brush it on there and let it dry. That'll give it a glazed finish. And now you can install sealant between that box if you want to go that route. So you have lots of different options. You can't find a gasket or you're frustrated. You can do it this way. Not a problem. That's how you dust proof the edge of gypsum to make it receivable for sealants.
Hey, James, we had a question come through. What's your thought on using tuck tape to seal ducts?
Which one?
Tuck tape to seal ducts?
Seal ducts. Duct tape?
What are your thoughts?
Tape is a tape used for plastics. They make duct tape.
Tuck with a T.
Usually a foil tape that you do on ducts, but I'm not sure what type of duct is being referred to. I use tuck tape to seal plastic. That's what it's designed for, exactly. Okay, now air sealing tapes like this, if I'm going to do this, this tape has been on the market for almost 60 years with a very, very long track record. It's also got a tremendous amount of adhesive on the back and will bond to many, many things and last a very long time. I have seen tuck tape degrade if exposed to heat, airflow, this kind of thing. Same with duct tape, it oxidize. I mean, have you ever seen the duct tape, the gray tape, just turned to powder? For sure. Commonly, they're taped with an aluminum tape, and I use an air sealing tape, such as this. So I'm not the biggest fan of tuck tape unless I'm sealing polyethylene. That's what it's made for.
Great, thank you.
Okay, I'm going to change my camera. I'm going to go up top, okay? I'm going to take my insulation off in my attic space here, and I have a light fixture. I'm going to spin my unit around so we can see the light fixture in the camera. So this is the one right here that I want to air seal, okay? And I have my poly on the ceiling, so I'm going to go up there and let's see what we can do. Up here. And so I want to seal this box. And I've got a couple of wires coming out of here. I got the poly right onto here. How am I going to seal that box? You saw in the presentation, there was a time when we made this box of foam. That's what I'm going to do. So
Sorry, James, can you speak up a little bit? Just we're losing you a bit.
Beg your pardon?
Can you speak up a little bit?
Well,
please?
you know I can.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to make a box. And I made a box. The box goes over the light fixture. And now, the air barrier for your attic, most attics anyway, is going to be a plastic sheet on top, right here, okay? This here plastic sheet is the air barrier, goes from room to room to room through the partition walls, and then also along the plate for the exterior wall. And so this plastic goes along and down. But if air gets in behind, it leaks out, okay? But we want to keep it in, and we'll seal to that plastic here. So the common process is to run sealant along the line. And I showed you the snippet, follow it along the cords, okay? Follow it along the cords. Where here I'm going to put the box. Yeah, I made this box. I cut some foam. I cut a little channel out where the wires are on the wall, so I can take it and stick it on. So all I got to do is stick this box to that plastic. That's what I'm going to do. So I put that on like so. And now I want to stick it on to there. I can't screw it, can't nail it. I could glue it. I could set it into caulking. Could be messy. I can take some of the air sealing tape and I can install that and hold the box down. But there's something I haven't done yet. What about the wires coming through here? I need to seal them. What do you think I'll use? Putty. Here's the example. So I've made a putty worm. Okay. Just took it and rolled it. I'm going to take it around the wire. Now I'm sealed all the way around that wire. I'll take the other side. This is stuff like this is like the grade 4 art project when we used to play with plasticine in art class. That's exactly what it feels like playing with plasticine, but you're getting air tightness and making your home more comfortable and energy efficient. It's not art class anymore. I can now take my box. I'm going to line my box up. You see my putty right there, and right there. And so now I'm sealed at the wire interface. Now I just need to seal this. A nice way to seal this would be to use caulking. Quite simple. I can use tape also if I like. But the most important thing is you have options. Okay? So I'm going to show you a caulking to use, and I'm going to show you a tape to use. Okay? The tape here. Take these high performance tapes off. It's hard to get the release off. Just run your thumb along the leading edge and the tape will stick to it. That's how sticky it is. Just run your thumb along the edge and the tape sticks to it. My box isn't going to go anywhere now, and I can continue this taping around these sides, okay? So when I get to this side, right here, I want to deal with this and this. So on this side here, that would be an easy place to tape. I'm not going to tape it all up. So I continue that around. And I got that tape side there that I want to deal with. So I use my favorite sealant because it bonds to plastic. Bonds to wood. It bonds to just about everything. It's the one I like to use. The Dow Seal 758. Okay. This is a commercial grade. It's not at Home Depot. Okay. But you go to a commercial sealant retailer. Set up. and you buy a sealant. This is a great sealant to use, okay? I have it in my gun. And I want to make this connection. And I say, well, maybe I just want to caulk the box. I'll put a one piece of tape to hold it. And then I'm going to do it the easy way. Well, the best part with it is you don't have to be pretty. You can seal it, tool it, use a tooling stick, and you're done.
Perfect. Thanks, James. That's bringing us pretty close to time there before you start another demonstration. No, you haven't. Yeah, I was wondering if you could hear me. I was just saying that that's bringing us pretty close to time. We're at about 2 minutes to 7.
Okay, well, if there's any questions, I've gone through all of the penetrations. The only thing that I haven't done is talked about some of the products that are behind me here. And you have various sealants to choose from. Some are good, some are not so good, okay? Find the weather stripping that works for you. Here's a roll of that Siga tape. And this, your air leakage tester, is pretty good. You can get a little more sophisticated and get the pencil. That's not a problem. It really works quite good. Or if you're really keen, get a blower door test done and go to that level so you got a good handle on it all. One step at a time. That's what I got.
Great, thanks, James. And folks, if you do have questions, feel free to pop them in the chat, and I can include some insights in the follow-up email. And just another plug for undergrad evaluations. They're also a great tool to understand kind of the different retrofits that would benefit the energy savings in your home. And our next webinar, I did post a link in the chat. You'll also see it in the follow-up email, but focuses especially around undergrad evaluations and how you can prioritize your upgrades. So if you want to learn more there, join us. Thanks very much, James. Really interesting stuff. I know it's a lot to cover in a short period of time, but really appreciate kind of taking us through those demonstrations as well, so we could really see what you're talking about. And we'll
quite simple, and everybody can really do a good part of the air sealing work their own self at a very little cost with a great benefit.
Great, thank you. All right, I'm going to pass things over to Ian. He's going to introduce us to some work that the city of Squamish has been doing, and then he'll pass things over to the Youth Climate Corps. So, Ian, perfect. There you are.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you, yeah.
Awesome. Firstly, thank you so much, James. That was incredibly informative and interesting. Really appreciate the demos. Yeah, I learned a lot there. Yeah, so I'm going to switch gears a bit, and we're just going to talk about an air sealing pilot project that we delivered in Squamish and Whistler through the District of Squamish. So my name's Ian Picketts, and I'm the Manager of Sustainability and Climate Change at the District of Squamish. And like many other communities in BC, we have a climate action plan that is ambitious and is difficult. But all of the actions we have to do, the one that keeps me up at night is decarbonizing existing buildings. How on earth we're going to get 40% of people to retrofit their existing buildings, given home costs, given construction costs, given all of the barriers that we have, definitely is the action that I find most troublesome. So to address all of the different actions that we are trying to do in Squamish, we partnered with Youth Climate Corps this year to bring a cohort of 5 younger citizens to work on climate action in our community. So it's been a really exciting opportunity, and it's enabled us to implement climate action locally. And it's also opened doors to a lot more community outreach and connection that we as local government often, to be blunt, we just don't we don't reach a lot of the people in our community. We try, but we're not that good at it. So Youth Climate Corps has been out in our community doing all sorts of really exciting initiatives. They're in the process of running a really ambitious Go by Bike Week. They've been attending local government summer camps and providing education about climate change. They've been helping with their zero waste events, and they're also doing an air sealing pilot project, which I'm going to talk a little bit more about. And I'm just going to talk about it for a couple seconds, and then Youth Climate Corps is going to go into way more detail about what we're up to. So the opportunity for an air sealing pilot project came about. We were thinking of things that we could partner to do, and for a number of reasons that James touched on many of them, air sealing seemed like a really excellent addition to our retrofit assist program, which Jenna noted before. So just a few of the reasons we wanted to engage in air sealing is, first of all, it's often the lowest hanging fruit in the retrofit journey. The payback can sometimes even just be a few energy bills. It is not that it's simple, and there's definitely lifetimes of learning to be done, but to engage in basic air sealing is not as technically difficult as other aspects of a retrofit, and you can do it with relatively inexpensive, simple tools. So there's a lower barrier to entry. Another problem we have in Squamish and in a lot of other communities is we just don't have tradespeople ready and willing to do this. And those that do it sometimes charge a pretty painful amount of money to do it. Also, in Squamish, we're really trying to encourage people to fuel switch a lot of the time. So air sealing can be a very good first step along that journey. So the air sealing pilot project, we were very fortunate to get funding from Fortis to engage in the pilot project. And they provided funding that included education, administration, the actual air sealing process, and then measurement and reporting. We are fortunate that we have the retrofit assist program that we can run the air sealing pilot project through. So we already have Community Energy Association talking with residents, and we're able to offer it to members of retrofit assist. We're saying, hey, there's this opportunity to engage in air sealing for free. What say you? And people, not surprisingly, are pretty excited to jump on. So the cool thing about this program is we have gotten Youth Climate Corps to be trained in air sealing and actually deliver this the air sealing measures. So they're taking the lead and actually doing the actions. However, they are supervised by Capital Home Energy, and another group, Airtight Solutions, has come into some of the trickier homes to offer support. And these are all performed on 24 homes, 16 of which are in Squamish and 8 are in Whistler. So yeah, so that's just a little bit of a process diagram. Again, very grateful to Fortis for providing funding for this program. Retrofit Assist program kind of really makes this a lot easier, and Youth Climate Corps are the ones doing the work. Just for your reference, here's the process flow diagram. You probably can't read this, but if the slides are shared, you might be able to look through it. And with this, I will pass it over to Youth Climate Corps, who will go into a lot more detail about what is actually being done. My email is on the slide. Please get in touch if you have further questions. And unfortunately, I'm going to have to leave a couple minutes before 7:30, but my colleague Gurteshwar is on the line, and he can hopefully answer some of the general questions about District of Squamish. So I'll pass it over to you, Youth Climate Corps. Thank you so much.
All right.
Thanks, Ian.
Thanks. Thank you, Ian. Just share my screen. All right. Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Nicole. I'm fortunate enough to live and work on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territory of the Squamish Nation. I'm one of the program coordinators with YCC BC Squamish, and along with my coworker Will, we'll be presenting on our experiences learning and performing air sealing work in Squamish and Whistler over the last few months. This is our team of 5. Our program runs for 6 months, and it aims to give young people opportunities and experience to find careers in climate-friendly work, while also paying them a livable wage. This is one of our many projects that we're doing with, in partnership with the District of Squamish and the sustainability team. Yeah, so we hope to enhance home energy efficiency by sealing gaps and leaks to prevent air loss. This reduces energy consumption, lowers utility bills, and decreases greenhouse gas emissions. YCCDC empowers young people to actively contribute to climate solutions, and our team members get to gain hands-on experience in energy efficient related work. So air sealing is our kind of most hands-on experience that we get to do. The work reduces the community carbon foot and develops practical skills for a sustainable future. Yeah, and simply put, it's a chance to gain some valuable skills and experience, support members of our community, and hopefully make some older homes more efficient, saving money, and yeah, preventing unnecessary greenhouse gas emissions. Sorry. Doesn't want to go. Oh, there we go. Okay. So yeah, we did a bunch of training before we went into our first home. On the left, that's the day we went to RDH, and we got we first started with some theoretical knowledge and background on like why we're air sealing and why it's important. And then we went downstairs to their lab, and that kind of mock-up that James is showing, you can see in the picture there. And we went through a lot of the best materials and best ways to air seal. And then up on the right, you can see that's Liam from Airtight Solutions. And we went into one of our coworkers' homes, and yeah, just got to practice some hands-on air sealing. They had a pretty leaky home, so it was a good chance to see how a professional does it, and just follow him around the house, and yeah, get some good training for the team. All right, and on to Will.
Perfect. Hi, everyone. So before starting, I'd like to say that none of us had extensive construction experience prior to starting working with the Retrofit Assist program. So this just tells you how easy it is to tackle DIY retrofit yourself and other things. So today we're going to share our personal experiences. So I know James gives us some really good theory and good you showcase really what to do yourself, but I'm going to talk more about our own experience. So first, here on the right, we have Adam from Capital Energy setting up a blower door test. So this is done every time before we start going around the house. So usually we'll start in the basement and working our way up. We focus on the area closest to exterior first before moving towards the center of the building, and then to the upper floors. Sometimes the first signs of air leakage are often visual, but then we will verify with our hands to physically detect draft. James mentioned that you could use a feather or a smoke pan, but in our case, since we have that blower door on, we can easily feel draft with our hands, and we don't need anything else. So yeah, some leaks are quite obvious, like major holes in the drywall or unsealed attic crawl space, while others may be subtle but occurs over larger areas, such as around windows and doors. So that's why it's important to remember that air leakage is the sum of all small and large drafts throughout the house. So tackling the big problems is of course important, but fixing as many small problems as you can is really key for efficient DIY retrofits. You can go to the next slide. So here's some pictures of our team doing some air sealing work using different material. On the top left corner of the screen, it's Nicole using some weather stripping to seal a little hatch leading to an electrical panel inside a wall. On the right, we have Keenan doing some spray foaming around a light fixture. And on the corner right, we have Michaela installing a little foam under an electrical outlet to improve the air tightness of the outlets. These are not perfect, as I'll tell you further. To really make it airtight, you have to use the technique that James just told us and put some putty at the end of the box, because just this foam plate, it's not quite airtight. We can switch. Awesome. So yeah, I might repeat James here, but again, this is like your personal experience, so I think it is worth saying. So the common air sealing problem areas are windows and doors, air leakage around the windows, around the window frame, around door frames. French doors we found that are really, really problematic, and also bow door. So basically after a while, some entrance door can be a bit bowed, and this creates a gap at the top and at the bottom of the doors. So the vent and the pipes are also a problem. Basically, any gaps at service penetration, so electrical outlets or any pipe that goes from underneath the sinks through inside the drywall. All the access points, we found that a lot of attic hatches and crawl space hatches are really poorly sealed. The mechanical room too is usually quite poorly sealed, especially if some poly is ripped or is lacking on top of the insulation there. And so for the window, we really recommend, if you wanna fix it, I would say start by removing the old sealant with some kind of X-Acto knife to start with a clean base. This will improve by a lot the result you'll achieve by applying sealant. And for the mechanical room, something that, and maybe James can interfere with me on that, but we found that some easy fix is, if the homeowner is not using the space a lot, we will usually put weather stripping around the door frame, so it helps kind of sealing up this area. It is not the best. The best would be to make the mechanical room airtight too, but we found we reached some pretty good result doing that. We can go to the next slide. Awesome. So yeah, sealing anywhere around lightnings. Here I am on the right, putting some caulking around a fan in a bathroom. Every time you have wood slat ceiling, these are really prone to air leakage, especially where each slat meet itself and also meet the ceiling. And we achieve really good success by using really clear caulking, because you can buy some transparent caulking, but if you want to seal 2 wood pieces, extra clear caulking works really well. Ducts and fireplace. So like James said, yeah, you like to use wig glove tape. Unfortunately, we didn't add this kind of tape, so we put some blue duct tape to seal ducts. I guess the biggest problem will be over time that the duct tape might degrade, where the wig glove tape would have stayed in a really great shape. Fireplace are a huge problem. One thing you can do when the fireplace is not in use, you can shape a piece of foam board the size of the penetration in the chimney. So this could be used to seal the chimney when it's not in use. And yeah, any like James mentioned, any gap in the drywall, it could be where the baseboard meet the when the floor meet the wall. This is always a problem. we were not able to tackle this problem in a lot of house. Fortunately, some of them were in renovation, so we were able to seal that little gap there. But otherwise, it is hard to seal without removing all the baseboards. The material we use, I'm just gonna go quickly over that. So we use expandable spray foam. It's really the gold standard to seal gap bigger than an inch wide. Works well around plumbing, underneath sinks. We use caulking around windows and for smaller gap. Really good trick if you don't want to waste your precious caulking. Using backer rod and caulking on top of it really helps reducing the amount of caulking needed to fill gaps. Weather stripping, we use a lot of weather stripping. I would suggest to bring your old one in store because there's a lot of different model available, so you have to look for compatibility. We use stock tape whenever we had to tape two pieces of poly together, or anywhere where the hole was not aesthetically sensitive, like in the back of a wardrobe. We'd use that a bit, and also some rigid foam board. You can buy this at any tool stores. It's like usually a pink foam or blue. But yeah, these are the main material we used during the project.
All right, thanks, Will. And yeah, on average, we've been getting a 0.3 to 0.8 difference in the air changes per hour from the houses. One of the best results from a 35-year-old home in Squamish had an improvement of around 1.2 air changes per hour. And that was a combination of the homeowner had done some basic retrofitting and air sealing, and our team came in for an afternoon and did some as well. With this being a pilot project and not being air sealing pros ourselves and time constraints, there are limits in what we can accomplish, but we've gotten some great results so far and hope to at least be laying the groundwork for homeowners to continue on air sealing and improving their home efficiency. Yeah, some challenges our teams face. Lots of diverse home types. There are different ages, designs. We've been into some homes that we've like met the people that have built them themselves and had a lot of background on it. But when they mentioned like when they built the home, the materials they were buying to do so, air sealing or air tightness wasn't considered at all. So homes like that, older homes, are definitely going to be more challenging, and we've experienced that. It's hard to have all the materials that you need for the job. It's different per home. We could probably drive around with Home Depot in our van and maybe then have every perfect type of material. So we make do with what we have, and that we can't do, we'll try to help support the homeowner on where to find that material and what to do next. And yeah, limited access. So some areas like attics and crawl spaces were often inaccessible, which limits a lot of the good work you can do. Like James is showing, when you can really get up there, light fixtures is a huge thing where you can build those boxes and air seal it off. We often weren't able to get into that, so we kind of did the best with the access we had. We got to problem solve a lot and come up with some creative solutions. And yeah, it's been a really steep learning curve. We tried to get as much hands-on training as we could before going into homes, but you come across different problems in every home. So we kind of are figuring it out as we go, and then having help there from Airtight Solutions and Capital Home Energy has been essential. And yeah, and YouTube is your friend. There's definitely lots of good resources on YouTube. And yeah, we've gotten some good feedback from homeowners so far. Yeah, like the one homeowner said the experience was very positive. Their sealing team was professional and efficient with high attention to detail. They were very patient in answering my questions and explaining the process, and accomplished a lot in a short time. And the results showed that gains can be made by addressing numerous small defects. They also laid the groundwork for me to make further improvements to the air sealing that were outside the scope of the program. I promise we didn't pay them to give that review, but it was a great one to see that that we are like coming in for an afternoon, and the small work that we can do supporting homeowners. Sorry, they actually feel like it feel like it is helping, and we're seeing some significant improvements. And then, yeah, some of our key takeaways. Air sealing is essential. Proper air sealing significantly improves energy efficiency, comfort, and reduces energy costs. If it's done well, it can be up to 10%. Focusing on problem areas, so targeting the high priority areas such as windows, doors, attics, and service penetrations to maximize effectiveness. So think of the building envelope again. And yeah, really trying to focusing on those kind of like those big areas that have a lot of leakages, but not forgetting about all of the small areas as well. And then small changes make a big difference. Continual learning and improvement. Yeah, we're like constantly learning as we go. And collaboration, it's been crucial for us, getting as many people involved, especially when we have a problem. And webinars like this are a great place to start. Yeah, thank you. And yeah, if there's any questions, I think we have a little bit of time left for that.
Yeah, wonderful. Thanks, Nicole and William. I know James has actually been helping you out in the chat and answering a lot of questions that have been popping up, and Ian asked a few questions about the program as well. I think that all questions have been answered, but go ahead and pop them in there if I've missed it, or raise your hand and we can ask directly. I'll question if you can come work in Penticton this summer. Yeah, I think you guys did a really good job at promoting the benefits of air sealing and that programs like this can have in communities. So thanks so much. Thanks so much for that time, for your time there. I really do appreciate it. I may kind of just go back up to a question that was asked to James earlier on while we still have you on the call, if that's okay. Let me see, a lot of messages have come through first, but there's just kind of there are a few questions around what sort of sealants you like to use. Let me find it here. So what products would you suggest for rim joist sealing in a basement? Is GE silicone caulk a good idea?
Well, silicones are not typically a good idea. They're extremely hydrophobic, okay? Which means they don't like water. They don't like water at all. So if there's any kind of moisture content or whatever, no, I'm not going to stick to that one, okay? It doesn't like that at all, okay? I showed you a Dowsil 758. That is my go-to. It's extremely efficient for bonding to most things air sealing related. The other thing that I do suggest is you get the sausage gun and the sausage because it's cheaper, but you can also cut a nozzle that is a little bit bigger because you want to run a robust bead, okay? Very, very important that when you install sealants, you do not do a tight little bead because it's very much like an elastic band, okay? Sealants need to be able to move. If you hold an elastic band like this, you can't pull it apart. But if you put a little space there, now you can do this, right? So you need a little bit of thickness of the sealant so you can do that, okay? That's just the rules of sealant, okay? And so put a nice tip on it and go around with that there. Urethanes are also quite good. Dimonic FC is another one that's quite good, okay? But the silicones and that, not so much used. I use more for the non-porous surfaces. They don't absorb water, obviously, like metals and glass and all this kind of thing. They can work good. But other than that, no, I wouldn't be. The GE silicone, I know it well. GE, Dow, whatever. It doesn't matter. It's all the same. Try the Dowsil 758. It'll bond the plastic. You read the data sheet. There's a really good thing to do right there is read the data sheet. Not the data sheet of Flex Seal or these commercial products here, fishy, or whatever that guy does on his commercials there or whatever. Okay? We read it for an actual commercial grade sealant. What is it actually used for? What's it bond to? All right. And the other thing you can do, and what I do as a building science consultant, is Well, I buy some caulks that I like and I stick them on stuff at home. Okay, and then I come back a week later and try to pull it off and go, well, that works. That doesn't work. Well, now I'm learning something. Okay, what it cost me? Well, a couple bucks to seal it, right? No big deal. But now I'm the smartest sealant guy in town. See? So that's my recommendation for that.
Great. Okay, perfect. I know some folks are asking for a kind of a list of recommended products. So folks, I will have a look to see what questions were missed in the chat, and if there's ways that we can follow up, we will when we share out the presentation slides and recording of this presentation. Thanks everyone for taking time out of your evening to join us. Thanks so much, William, Nicole, Ian. I know you had to hop off, but maybe you'll hear this somehow. And thanks to you, James, yeah, for imparting your knowledge and expertise and experiences on us. It's greatly appreciated.
It's my pleasure.
All right.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Take
Night.
care.
Good night.